Awesome. So I think we can start. So hello everyone, and thank you for joining our session. My name is Alexandru Mihalake. I'm an investment manager here at SeedBlink, and I'm excited to introduce you to giles AI, the AI agent for clinical and medical research. giles is building autonomous AI agents that dramatically improve productivity for medical and clinical research teams by automating evidence synthesis and analysis. The purpose of this session is to help you better understand the opportunity behind giles and hear more directly from the founders of the company. So if you are interested in supporting giles AI, their equity campaign is now available on SeedBlink. On the round page, of course, you'll be finding more details, including KPIs, financial figures, and of course the investment terms. We will be having a short presentation of the founders, followed by the pitch presentation, of course. And at the end of the session, we'll be having a Q&A session. So please make sure that you will address the questions into the Q&A bottom at the end of the page. Cool. So to kick things off, I would like to welcome Rishi. Rishi is the CEO of giles, and also Konstantin, who is the CTO. Hello, guys. Welcome.
Hey, Alex. Pleasure to be here. Thanks very much.
Thank you for joining. Please tell us a bit about yourself, your background. What led you to build giles? And also we'd love to hear more about your founding team.
Sure thing. Perhaps I'll go first. So I'm Rishi Wadera. I'm the CEO of giles AI. My background is basically in better ways of working, agile methodologies, and also product management. So strangely, I came from a financial services background. So I was a technologist in financial services, which is very different from our vertical today. But I'll explain a little bit of how that kind of manifested. But I know a little bit about technology. I know quite a bit about product management. I had a successful career at the London Stock Exchange, where I helped turn a cost center into a revenue center by building a product from the ground up with the team over there. And yeah, it's been quite a journey so far coming into giles. We've been 2 years in the making, but it's very exciting to be here. Konsta, I'll let you introduce yourself as well.
Thank you, Rishi. So I'm Konstantin. I am the CDO and one of the co-founders of giles AI. I like to describe myself as a fan of cutting edge technology. I'm also always passionate about everything tech, and my mission to say so is leading innovation that reshapes industries worldwide. Now, when it comes to my background, I come from a technical background. At the same time, I ventured into the entrepreneurship, journey, and I successfully built already multi-million-dollar companies. This was actually achieved by the age of 30, so that's what I'm most proud of when it comes to what I achieved so far. And yeah, I'm looking forward to discuss more about what we're doing here at giles, which in my eyes is one of the most interesting AI companies out there right now.
Thank you so much for the intro, guys. Quite an impressive background. Now please walk us through your pitch presentation. We'd love to hear more about the problem that you're solving, the solution that you have built, your current traction, target customers, and also your vision for scaling giles AI. You can share your screen, and for the rest of the participants, you can use the Q&A section, as I mentioned, or directly to chat. We will address all the questions at the end of the presentation. That being said, Rishi, Konstantin, the floor is yours.
Okay, I'll share screen. Hopefully you can see that, Alex. Has that come through clear?
Yeah, we can see it. Yeah.
Excellent. So giles AI, what we are all about. So if we were just to label it on a tin, we are an AI agent and we're trying to make clinical, medical, and healthcare research faster and easier. That's the mission statement. And the reason for actually doing this is actually described on the next slide. And we've seen this here in the UK, and I'm sure you've seen this in Romania. Just generally, healthcare is drowning in complexity. There's so much data that's available to healthcare specialists, and trying to cut through that is a very expensive affair. So rising costs are taking place, and it's clear we need some urgent demands for efficiency, not just from a cost perspective, but also from a patient care perspective. Now, healthcare is a huge, vast area in itself. It's a massive vertical in its own. But where do we first tackle these inefficiencies? And we said to ourselves, the best place to start is actually at the research field. And the research field is all about bringing new medical devices, new drugs into the public sphere. And that process can take anything up to 10 years and $1.5 billion. Now, we obviously want to help shaving that down, making it easier to do at least the research aspect to begin with. So that's where we're starting. So we're all about tackling this really, really heavyweight part of that drug delivery, medical device delivery process. And the research aspect can take anything up to 3 years. So that's where we want to start working and putting our focus into shaving that time down. So if we look at this problem by numbers, the traditional tooling that's available and the lack of AI expertise in the current market, AI has been around for a very, very long time. It's been around for at least 25, 30 years, if not more. But it's come into the mainstream over the last few years with the advent of ChatGPT and everyone getting excited, and you're hearing it on the mainstream news as opposed to, you know, the specialist forums for artificial intelligence. Now, the costs involved with not using AI is phenomenal. If you look at some of these numbers that I've put in the headlines here, just not using AI for clinical trials is expected to inflate costs by at least 25%. If you look at inefficiencies in global research around the world in this space, $170 billion is wasted in the amount of time it takes to research for new drugs, research for new medical devices. And what's interesting is all the healthcare organizations, the big players, even the small players, they know that AI is going to help them fix this issue, right? It'll help them do things quicker. It'll help them do things easier. So they've got this desire to change, but because of the lack of expertise and the lack of the correct tooling, most of their internal projects are failing. And this is where we come in. We come in to do the heavy lifting with all of the manual intensive work that takes place. We help with helping these companies continue to have their market edge and allow them to scale against the competition. And how do we do that? So Giles is basically an AI first developed solution. What we mean by that is we're not a traditional application with some AI bolted on top. And a lot of the competition are like that. What we're all about is actually positioning Giles as an extended member of your team, a digital member of the research team, someone you can talk to just like you would talk to ChatGPT. But the real difference here is that Giles is connected to some of the biggest medical databases in the world, which ChatGPT and a lot of the other LLMs that are out there today, they're not connected to. So you treat Giles as a member of your team by talking to this data, cutting through all of that research data that's out there to help you with your own research. Whenever you start drug development, it's all about researching other people's research. What have other people done? PhDs, companies, universities. What have they done that pertains to what you're trying to do? So cutting through that data is massive. Just one of the databases we hit, PubMed, owned by the US government, to date, 40 million articles, each, you know, tens of thousands of words long. Trying to bring all of that data together is an extremely difficult task. So what happens is you've got all of this data that you find it very difficult to cut through. you miss the insights even though they're right underneath your nose. And this is where Giles comes in by helping you scale. We've achieved some excellent results with our overall accuracy rates. We've got high agreement rates, and this is a big problem with some of the LLMs that are out there today. There's a lot of hallucinating. There's a lot of confidence when the LLM talks back to you and says, right, this is your answer. You almost believe it, but can you truly trust it? And this is where we're focusing our attention on making things better. So this gives you a little flavor of what our interface looks like. If you've used ChatGPT before, it's going to be very intuitive. It is conversational. It's you creating chats, you connecting to the right data sources, and then you asking Giles to help you out. Now, when you ask Giles to help you out, that could mean giving you comparisons of various documents you're looking at, helping pull out the exact data points that you're looking for, even asking for opinions on whether the trial was conducive, was it successful, was there anything negative in there? And when you're cutting through all of this data, you can actually ask Giles, what should I be asking you of this data in order to get a better insight? So Giles is actually helping you ask the right questions back to it. So that's really interesting. You can see on the left-hand side here, I've already mentioned we're connected to PubMed. There's a whole host of databases available around the world in different languages that we've got on our roster of work and our backlog of work to connect to make Giles a one-stop shop for total clarity across all of these data sources. Something, again, that the competition doesn't do. We can speak multiple languages. So you see English on screen, but we can speak Romanian. We can speak Arabic, Japanese, and actually have those scripts, printed out perfectly. Because of our vertical being healthcare, it's extremely important we take a look at the security, the privacy of what we're doing, and making sure that IP doesn't leave customers' boundary into the ether and doesn't get lost and potentially plagiarized. This gives you a kind of visual perspective of what we're about. So yes, we're a ChatGPT-like interface, but we're doing so much more underneath. So if I could take you through some of these aspects of our product suite. If you want to take a look at your own documents, your own research from your desktop, you can actually upload that up to Giles and you can start talking to Giles about that work. You want to refactor it, you want to pick out certain points that maybe need evaluating and put into better prose, you can ask Giles to help you with that. And we support at the moment PDFs, but in the future, we're looking at expanding that across multiple document types and including video and audio. So if you made some audio notes, you can ask Giles to transcribe that into a PDF file. If you have seen an interesting video, but you haven't got the time to go through 2 hours of it, upload it to Giles and ask Giles to give you a summary and the key points in that video of what you should be looking at to whatever pertains to the questions you're asking. G-Connect is all about connecting to these other databases. PubMed, the FDA, clinicaltrials.gov, Medline, there's a whole host of these things around the world. And what we do is we plug into those directly. So you've got access to those research articles and you can go ahead and ask away all the questions that you need to ask. For the future, we're actually thinking about a new product line called GIQ. And GIQ is us working with highly specialized individuals in particular fields that know about their work in such deep scales that this kind of data is locked up in their brains as opposed to being available on the internet. So again, the Chat GPTs, the Geminis, etc., they wouldn't be able to lock into this data because it's in human form. It's in someone's brain. Now, by partnering up with these people, we can actually digitize that information and monetize that by selling it on. Another interesting aspect about what we do, we are LLM agnostic. And by that, we mean we're not just another layer on top of ChatGPT. A lot of applications will be like that. We're agnostic. We'll talk to multiple LLMs at a client's choice. And it really depends on what you are trying to achieve from your research material. We'll help you select the right LLM for that. In the future, we're also building the Giles Smart API. And this is going to give clients the ability to access all of our goodness, all of our magic, but actually plug it into their own applications. Something that the client book that we've already been speaking to are really, really interested in. In terms of our ICPs and the acquisition channels we're looking at, we started off with B2B. We started off with small, medium businesses. Now, in the research field, that basically means contracted research organizations which work for the big pharma to start that initial phase 1 drug discovery roadmap, if you like. People who do health economics, statistics, for example, taking a look at the efficacy of drugs during COVID, for example. How good were they? How did they impact public health? And really extracting all that information out. And then also helping these companies with reg support when they submit their applications for further drug development and licensing. What we've actually noticed is we can very quickly upmarket expand. So we've already started talking to some of the big farmers. We're speaking to government right now and their particular health departments of how Giles can help them. And specifically, we're speaking to Romania, and we're also speaking to the UAE, who we've also recently started work with, and we've actually incorporated over there. But what's been really interesting, as well as the B2B channel, there's also a B2C channel that we can tap into. And this almost came about by accident from us talking to our family and our friends who are at university, kids who've just come out of school, first jobbers, and they've been saying, what are you guys doing? What is Giles about? And when we tell them the B2B side, they told us, actually, this would be amazing for us. We've got thesis to write. We've got assignments to take care of. We're talking to PubMed, for example, every single day. I've got 20 tabs open in my Chrome browser, one document per tab, and I manually have to go through all of that data to understand it and cross it. If we had Giles, that would do everything for us. So we're actually opening up a B2C channel where we're going to be selling directly from our website to be able to give students and faculties the ability to use Giles as well. And of course, that will always help us when they actually leave university and go into actually, work for big corporates. They take the whole Giles aspects with them. They've used Giles before. They want to use it again in their corporate life. I think a big thing here is in terms of the market evaluation, it's huge, right? We are looking to just capture 1% of a $90 million market, right? That will allow us to be valued at a 1 billion valuation if we follow the projected roadmap that we've got for the next 4 to 5 years. We're looking to achieve something in the order of 90 to 100 million ARR by the end of 5 years, and that will easily give us that $1 billion valuation. If you look at equivalent AI companies, albeit in a different space today, they've achieved 100 million within 3 to 4 years, and they're valued at 4.6. So I think we've slightly underplayed our valuation there. This gives you an idea of that kind of trajectory that we're looking for. We're obviously at the start of this. It's always going to be shallow. There's no question about that to begin with. But then once we've got this solid product, and we've already got some clients, right? And the next version of our product is available at the end of June. It's really starting to take shape, which will help us rocket to that 100 million ARR. Now, the exciting thing about all of this is the partners that we're working with. So I mentioned right at the start of the call that I came from productivity and financial services. How did we manifest to become healthcare focused? Well, actually, one of our first customers is a company called Regulatory Scientific and Health Solutions. And they came to us and said, look, we can see that you're all about productivity. We like to be more productive when connecting to PubMed. Can you help us do that? So we actually helped them save 85% of their research time by using Giles connected to PubMed. They came back to us and said, we think we can help you grow this product even further. We'd love to be a part of it. And they've put a considerable amount of cash into our company already to help us build that runway. But it's not just financial. They're also going to help us shape the product going forward. And they've got a vested interest to do so. On the other side of things, we took this whole project to the key technology players because we're looking to scale. We've just signed a contract with Google over the next 3 years. Now, Google evaluated in 2024, and this is Google UK and Ireland, they evaluated 38 startups to see if they can help them and sell their services and help them grow. 3 of those startups they have identified as potential unicorn status, and we're very proud to say that Giles is one of those. So we're working very closely with Google and Regulatory Scientific and Health Solutions to build this product. We've got the right people. We're the corporate capability. We're the technology specialists. We've got RSS helping us with the actual product fit. And we've got Google helping us with the scale to make sure we hit that $1 billion valuation. Alex, I'll leave it there.
Okay, cool. So I'm super curious about, because I think it's super connected on your last comment. So can you share with us some example, let's say, of the core use cases where Giles has already proven to deliver valuable and value actually in clinical and medical research?
Absolutely. So sorry, let me just share that again. If I go to, here we go. So there's a conference that takes place a few times a year actually, for our kind of target audience in terms of clients. It's called ISPOR, and it's a global conference. And we were at the last ISPOR conference in, I think it was late last year in Barcelona. So we went to that conference and we actually put up a poster showing how we can help with their day-to-day work. And we worked with RSS to basically develop an investigation of if we use Giles to look at a particular topic, and in this case it was atopic dermatitis, how would that actually help in terms of research? So we did 2 little posters here. So I think this is probably the interesting one here. So in terms of building a systematic literature review, so the idea here is that perhaps big pharma have come to someone like RSS and have said, right, we'd like to create a new drug in atopic dermatitis. What we'd like you guys to do, RSS, is go and start that initial research of the drug we're thinking about doing, what it's composed of, the target audience for this drug. How would we best develop the drug going forward? Give us some idea with the research that's already out there. Now, what RSS did is they started using Giles to try and prove a point. And the topic here was atopic dermatitis, so skin conditions. And if the gold standard was an RSS expert manually cutting through all of that data to pull out the right results, we achieved a 94% accuracy rate compared to that manual expert going and getting the data themselves. And we saved that manual expert about 85% of the time. Now, what's interesting is when we speak to clients, they say, look, 94% is fantastic. That's great, but it's not 100%. So how are you going to help us with accelerating the manual verification we need to do? Because otherwise they just have to go and read all of that data anyway themselves just to make sure Giles is correct. So we're building tooling to help them do that.
Okay. Okay, that's great. That's great. Okay, so thank you so much for the presentation, and I think we can open the floor to questions. So feel free to drop questions into the Q&A tab or directly into the chat. I think we already have a question actually. Let me check again. What's your secret sauce? Is your AI based on proprietary software architecture or based on openly available models and LLMs?
I can take that question. So as you've seen, Rishi was showing you earlier that we are LLM agnostic. So our differentiator is not necessarily the LLM itself, because it doesn't make sense today to train your own LLM from scratch. Um, there's From a business perspective, you need to take what's out there in the market, and build on top of it. So basically, we already have the infrastructure. There's no need for us to rebuild that infrastructure, right? So what we've done was to layer our knowledge on top of it. By doing several, let's say, technological breakthroughs, the way we process and store data, the way we reduce the hallucination effect that you are all probably aware of already, or at least, I mean, you've used the tools like Gemini or ChatGPT already, and you've seen that in some situations, you can't rely on that response. You need to make sure that it's not hallucinating. What we're doing is processing the data in a certain way that reduces hallucination to a minimum. This way, as an effect, you can rely on what's written there. Because when we're talking about medical, when we're talking about, I don't know, legal, aviation, military, whatever, those are industries where you can't simply rely on information that's not entirely true, right? So that's probably our biggest differentiator when it comes to medical. You need to rely on the answers. That's what we're providing to our customers, to our clients, especially to the researchers that we're uh, working with, and they use our software.
Okay, cool. Thanks. We do have another question via chat. What is the current value of contracted ARR, and what is the average period of time of contracted ARR?
So I can take that. So in terms of what we have right now, it's very, very early in our life cycle. So we've been around for, in earnest, about a year and a half to build a product, go out there and sell. Um, we've got around the $20,000 to $30,000 mark right now, but we haven't really even started. We've got our first MVP that we've put out there, but we're at the very start of that trajectory I'd shown you, and the idea is to grow that rapidly. So the expectation is by the end of 2 years, we should have at least 6,000 clients and hundreds of thousands of ARR coming in. But the real takeoff will happen from year three onwards, where we are in a position where, yes, we do have to continue to build a product and continue to build a moat around the product, but really the product development starts slowing down a little bit, and we get very, very aggressive on sales. Now the idea is to get a footprint in the small medium business arena first, and then take that to big pharma later, because big pharma are also doing their own things. But what we're finding, we might have to revisit that, because Google are very excited about what we're doing right now. They hold 18 of the top 20 big pharmaceuticals on their own books. What they want to do is actually introduce us to big pharma as soon as possible. So we're expecting the contracted ARR to actually accelerate massively, perhaps even more so than what you're seeing on screen right now. And I truly think we have underplayed our valuation. And we're moving so fast. We've got a podium slot with the Google Summit in London coming up in July. We're going to be attending the Google Life Sciences Day, where Const and myself are going to be talking about what we're doing. and that's going to be broadcast around the world. There's a hell of a lot of interest in what we're doing, and I think we're going to drastically improve our ARR very, very quickly. At the moment, yes, it's token, but we've only put one release out there, but we've already managed to get clients.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Let's take another question from the chat. Please walk us through your execution strategy. You have RSS as a GTM partner, but how will you as a company execute on the business model to gain clients? Do you have any downside scenarios for when research grants are not available, for example, or R&D budgets are cut down? How can you move across the market swiftly and switch between clients opportunistically?
That's quite a few questions there to unpack.
Yeah.
Let me start with the first one. So in terms of the business model, we're not going to pretend that we can handle all of this ourselves. So for a startup, we're quite big. For a company that's only been around for 18 months, I think we're quite big. So we're 20 people so far. We're distributed across the US, where we do sales and operations, the UK, where we do product design and sales as well. Romania, that's our technical hub, and we also sell there. And then finally, we've just incorporated in Dubai in the DIFC AI campus. And that is where our marketing is based out of. And of course, we're doing sales over there. Now, whereas we're starting ourselves like any other, any other new startup, we're trying to do as much as we can and put our finger into all sorts of pies ourselves across everyone in the company. That's not a scalable model. What we're doing is we're talking to GTM partners right now in all of those regions. So those GTM partners are really to help us rapidly scale across the globe, right? So we're cutting the right deals with them in order to go and sell our product. And they also see massive advantages from their side to put services around the product. And we don't really want to get involved with services. We just want to focus on the product itself. The furthest we'll go is providing the API for those resellers, those GTM partners to then build their own services around. So, for example, if you're deploying Giles to a medium-sized pharma company, you sell the product in, you get the seat licenses, and then you also sell in your services to perhaps clean up the data and make sure everything's good for Giles to go, and then perhaps sell some training onwards. So we've got GTM partners already lined up to help us scale, but I think the biggest GTM partner is Google themselves. So they're saying they're going to introduce us to their client book. They're saying we should be going onto the Google Marketplace, and that's something we'll be doing in the next 2 to 3 months. So we know we can't do this ourselves, and we're bringing the right companies in to help us scale. Going on to the next question. Do you have any downside scenarios for when research grants are not available? For example, R&D budgets are cut down. So our first aspect of Giles is research. There are a lot of aspects to this. So it's not just R&D. So we've actually got other doctors already invested in Giles. So one of our lead individual investors is a doctor who leads drug development for oncology at Oxford. He is an expert assessor on the European Health Agency for AI and machine learning tools. And he comes from good stock, and he's published loads of books. So he's a great example of someone who helps from the phase 1 drug trial development, right? And that's great. That's everything I've taken you through already. But in terms of us making sure we build a moat around our product, we're already speaking to other experts who are going to be part of our advisory team going forward. So, for example, we're also looking at health regulation. So this is totally aside of the research aspect of what we do. This is how can we help health regulation be faster and easier? So we've got experts from the health regulation field who are now joining our advisory panel. These are seasoned players who've worked for Big Pharma, and they see benefits from how Giles can help with submissions for licensing, for example, but must adhere to particular drug standards, right? So in the UK, we have the NICE regulations. So when you're doing your drug applications for new licensing, for example, how can you cross what you're applying for with the regulations to make sure you're within the guidelines of your application? So that's one other aspect that we're looking at, which is not really related to R&D. Another aspect we're looking at is we've got an investor who's actually a senior doctor at the Southampton Hospital in the field of orthopedics. So he's interested in meta-analysis. So if he's got an idea where he's saying perhaps someone's cartilage in a knee is torn, and he's got an idea of how that could be fixed, how can you go and tap all of the knowledge and expertise that's out there in databases like PubMed and come back with some meta-analysis of what he's thinking about in terms of a solution? So we're trying to figure out the right moats to protect us from just the research aspect. And I hope that answers that question. How can you move across the market swiftly and switch between clients opportunistically? Right. So I think, this slide helps answer this. So if you put together the fact that we're not being so niche in our ICP, right? We are looking across multiple channels and multiple aspects of healthcare, small, medium enterprises in research organizations, but we're also looking at healthcare workers, like the medic I just described at Southampton hospitals. We're looking at government institutions and their Ministry of Health. How can we help them with their statistics in terms of public health? Now, we also have the B2C side, which I've already explained, but in order to move across these different markets, we are building the right relationships with advisors in each of these markets and also GTM partners in each of these markets. So that gives us the ability to pivot between the markets, between the ICPs, if we ever feel that one ICP is going down while another ICP is going up. For example, research budgets are going down, but perhaps there's been a big increase in students taking up, medicine. I don't know, but do you know what I mean? There's lots of pulleys here for us to adjust. We're not just focused on one niche area that, if there was a downturn, could actually put a major dent into our bottom line.
Hope it is answering the question. If not, we can take it offline. We can take it into the discussion tab via the platform, or just reach out to Rishi. Okay, so about the next question, about the current valuation, how will you justify your current valuation of 34 million?
I can take that one. So valuing a tech startup, especially in the rapidly growing space of AI, isn't straightforward, right? From for obvious reasons. Normally, revenue and profit would drive the valuation. But given where we are as a business, those metrics don't fully apply. Instead, this valuation comes from industry standard approaches like the scorecard method. If you heard about it, there's the checklist method, the VC method. Those are commonly used for high growth startups and usually focus on factors like market demand, the strength of the product, which you've seen just now in the presentation that it's exactly where it should be. Don't forget about the partnerships, which are also scored. We have a partnership with Google, which it's one of the biggest companies worldwide, tech companies worldwide. So all those things are added into an equation, and you get to a certain valuation. There's also the quality. I mean, besides the actual, let's say, numbers that we've taken into account. We've also we can also say that we have a team of highly qualified professionals. We're all people with a lot of experience in our domains. We're about 25 people right now, out of which most of are technical and engineers. And also, most importantly, actually, this isn't just a theoretical number, the valuation. We've had over, correct me if I'm mistaken, Rishi, I think we have over 15 investors, which basically validated this valuation, right? So there are a lot of people who validated our initial estimation.
Mhm.
I hope this covers the question.
Yeah, and just to add to that, Alex, when we're working closely with Google, we're speaking to their head of business VC development, right? And normally at our stage, they wouldn't really be looking at us and having conversation with us. They're looking at people who are really at Series A and beyond in order to
Yeah.
take them to market. When we managed to get an audience with the person concerned, and they are super excited about what we're doing, and this is why we've been given that unicorn status, right? But they didn't sniff at our valuation, and the reason is, and we asked them about this because we said, what do you think of where we're valued? Because we haven't got the EBITDA or the revenue to actually put a different way of scoring our valuation right now.
Mhm.
And they compared us to some of the recent startups in the AI space, right? So if you take a look at, for example, a company like Glean, who 5 years ago, and Glean is an AI company and they're plugged into corporate productivity, enterprise search, right? Right now they're worth $4.6 billion. They've managed to hit 100 ARR just recently in the last quarter. But in their first year, they were nowhere. They were very comparative to where we are right now. So it's very difficult, and I'm sure your audience and your investors will know this. When you're a startup at our stage, just starting to pick up the clients, it's very difficult to pinpoint your valuation based on hard numbers. So we've got nothing else to go against right now, except the fact that we're already revenue generating. Yes, it's a small amount, but we are revenue generating. We can give you a comparative story to other companies that are now valued at $4.6 billion. I think that's the important thing to remember when you're looking at our company for investment.
Okay. Thank you, Rishi. We have a participant that is curious about your competition, and I think it's an important topic to maybe to go a bit into what differentiate Giles compared with existing solutions on the market, especially in that sector of healthcare.
Sure. if I was to, I'll make a bold statement here. There's no all-encompassing competitor to Giles. There are aspects of Giles which other companies do right now, but there's not this holistic vision. So in the space of clinical, medical, and healthcare tooling, there have been many tools to help with example, systematic literature reviews, which I showed an example of earlier. Now, those are all about managing the workflow of creating a systematic review. And what those companies have done, they've put some additional AI capability on top to help pull out maybe a few statistics from some papers that have been uploaded to their tool. But it's very rudimentary, shall we say, right? Now, if you look at the other aspect of what we do, which is interrogating documents, the Gbox functionality where you can upload your own research, there are some great tools out there from Google themselves. They've got Notebook LM that can interrogate documents really well. But when you're trying to amalgamate both those features into one tool, it's just not there. Now, in addition to that, us building the defense and moat around our product, we've got the fact that we're LLM agnostic. A lot of the healthcare tools today just sit on top of ChatGPT, for example. we're going to be hitting multiple databases. PubMed is just one of them, right? We've got a whole host of other databases, not just medical research, but regulatory databases as well, right? So that brings together a really cohesive data environment for the end user. We've also got the ability to take whatever we've built and embed it in your own applications. None of the competition do this as well. There's no API to do that, right? So I think the competition has really been born out of people who've been in the medical field and have seen some sort of traditional SaaS-based tooling that could help them, and they've gone and found someone to help them build that. In terms of what we're doing, we're technological experts with corporate capability. You know, we all come from high blue chip companies. We are using that expertise, but we're not pretending to know about the medical field. We're using companies like RSS, doctors who have now invested in our company, who want to build and shape the right tool for their work. So we couldn't ask for a better market research. We couldn't ask for a better quality assurance testing team. We've got the people who are actually going to be using the software, helping us build the software. To answer the question short, there's no one out there right now that are doing what we're doing. And that's why we want to hit this runway hard and fast so we get a nice footprint into the market.
Okay, clear. Thank you. Cool. Let's take another one, like different topic, also about the ARR growth. In order to enable us to test the projected ARR growth, can you please explain what is your pricing strategy?
Sure thing. So in terms of what you see on screen right now, there'll be different prices for each of these quadrants, right? And there'll be different functionality for each of these quadrants. So does a student need to create a meta-analysis for their thesis? Probably not. So they might get a cheaper license, but we'll give them the option. If they want to do that, we'll help them upgrade. So we've already put pricing against each of these quadrants. And again, I think we've hit the danger of underplaying it, because the feedback we're getting so far from the existing clients and the clients we're speaking to is, you know, if we just look at that first sniff test, they're like, okay, great, that's a great price. We'll definitely be looking at you. But we're also exploring other ways of making money. So at the moment, it's very much a monthly per seat per month license. Yeah. What we're also exploring is potentially using, instead of like that traditional SaaS-based approach to software, we're looking at your audience may have heard of it, a RAS-based approach. So this is results as a service. So you basically pay a much less fee in terms of your monthly subscription, but you pay a high fee for the results you get back from the LLM. Now, in our initial research, speaking to the doctors who are interested in being a part of this, they're saying, for example, if you could do some meta-analysis for us, we may be willing to pay anywhere between $500 to $800 for the results that come from that meta-analysis, if you're hitting the kind of agreement and accuracy rates that you're doing so far, right? Now, an individual in a particular healthcare expertise area, orthopedics, for example, they might need to do that 10 times a year, right? In the space of orthopedics, there's probably globally anywhere between 8 to 10,000 orthopedic surgeons that would need to do this. Now, if you do the maths, that's an extremely lucrative revenue stream. We're talking of tens of millions of dollars that could come in just from that one particular healthcare aspect. Yeah, that's just orthopedics. You can then cookie cut that across surgeons in heart surgery, brain surgery, people who help with nerves. There's so much potential here. It's something that we're very, very excited about leveraging as soon as possible.
Okay. Moving a bit about what is happening right now, actually, and also how how this round will help you in reaching some specific milestones. And I'm curious also, how are you prioritizing the use of funds? How are you distributing the funds? More in product, maybe marketing, sales? What is the strategy?
Yeah, so our marketing machine has already started. If you're following us on the big socials, especially LinkedIn, where we've seen a huge amount of traction, we've already got a great marketing machine happening. Const has been part of many podcasts. It seems like lots of people are interested in what we're doing. He's been doing podcasts from a technical perspective. I've been doing podcasts from a business perspective.
Mhm.
The marketing machine's already in place. Consta, I think you will agree. I think our focus for the money we get from this particular phase is really to help product development and to get out there and aggressively start selling, especially on our next release, which is coming out in a couple of months.
Okay. Konstantin, anything to add?
On that. So for us, I mean, marketing sales are definitely important aspects, but I mean, we think that key to success is to have a product that almost sells itself, right? So even if we're doing efforts on marketing and sales, the product should be as strong as possible to almost say that it sells itself. And we already seen something like that when talking to um, investors, clients, all the people that we're interacting with. They really understand that it's a game changer. So yeah, that's what we need to focus on, creating that really strong set of features that would make us products the hottest on market.
Okay, thank you so much. Cool. So no more questions for you guys, at least for the moment. Any final comments from you?
I think the important thing here is, it's great with all of the AI technology that's out there at the moment. We went to the Dubai AI Festival just recently. It was last week,
Mhm.
actually. And what we saw with one of the speakers, Dr. Abdallah Kablan. So he's actually really interested in Giles. So he potentially could be an investor for us. But he gave a great speech on stage about what do we do with all this artificial intelligence, you know? And his view is it's time to apply some artificial wisdom, if you like, across
Mhm.
this intelligence. And the wisdom aspect is something that I think is very core to our mission statement. We want to use all of the technology and software available out there. We want to make this something that's going to really make an impact to society. And yes, we may not be saving lives directly, but you can imagine if you're contributing to something that is speeding up the research time that gets a drug out to market that will save a human life, I think that's an amazing story to add to your corporate investment, if you like. You're investing in the future of how healthcare will be provided, and we're absolutely loved and engaged in being in this environment. It's something where we can make a positive impact and hopefully make our investors some cash as well. But it's a good feeling to have to say that you're investing in something that's going to help save lives.
Yeah, cool. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, so thanks again, Rishi. Thanks again, Konstantin. It was a super detailing and compelling presentation. And thank you all for attending and also for engaging with your questions. So for everyone interested in joining this seed round of giles, now is the time. The campaign is live on our platform. And if you have any additional questions, just please reach out to Rishi and his team or directly into the platform via the discussion tab. Thanks again. Thank you all for joining, and have a wonderful evening.
Thanks a lot, Alex.
Thanks, Alex,
Bye.
and thank you everyone for joining. Appreciate it.
Bye, guys. Take care.